Hello, my lovely anatomists and physiologists. Welcome back to another video on lymphatic system. We are ready to talk about our lymphoid tissues or organs. And what we'll see is there's two categories of lymphoid organs. So we have what are termed as primary, and then those that are termed as secondary. And so our primary lymphoid organs include the bone marrow. And this is because here is our location for hematopoiesis, which we studied in a lot of detail in our cardiovascular chapter. Hematopoiesis is all about the formation of blood cells, all of the formed elements, and that does include our lymphocytes. And so we will see that the beginning process, the hemocytoblast, is going to divide to give rise to the lymphoid stem cell. And the lymphoid stem cell is going to give rise then to the NK cells and the B cells and the T cells. But the T cell is leaving the bone marrow and going to the thymus, which is another one of our primary lymphoid organs. And when we talk about the thymus, we've mentioned it's located in the thoracic cavity. It's located between the sternum, remember your technical name for your breastbone, and the aorta. And we're going to see that the thymus contains macrophage and dendritic cells. These are two important phagocytic cells that are derived from monocytes. Monocytes, remember, are one of our white blood cells, or leukocytes. And then we'll see that the thymus contains the thymocyte, which is the immature T cell. We see that the thymus is where the T cell, let me say that the thymus is where the thymocyte is going to be trained and where it will mature into the T cell. And we do see that the thymus produces the hormone thymosin, which is going to coordinate this development of the T cell. Moving on to our secondary lymphoid organs, what we'll see is that these organs will be rich in both T cells and B cells. We'll see that there are often fixed macrophage, meaning like they're housed here. This is where they're resident in these particular organs. And we'll also see that they'll be involved in the dividing and differentiation of those B cells. So when we talk about secondary lymphoid organs, these are organs and tissues that are rich in those T cells and B cells. They have a large number of macrophage, and they're involved in the dividing and differentiation of B cells. And I'm going to run down the list and highlight just so that it will stand out. When we talk about our secondary lymphoid organs, we're talking about lymph nodes, lymphoid nodules, the spleen, and then what's called the mucosa-associated tissue. You're going to be going through the anatomy of these as part of your lab work, so you'll be catching that detail there. So let's just talk a little bit of other information. When we talk about the lymph nodes, we can think about these as the lymph filters. So we already mentioned as the lymph is going through the network of vessels, it will periodically pass through a lymph node, and it's filtering out like 99.9% of pathogens. So it's involved in removing pathogens, debris. So if we have broken or damaged tissue from the lymph node is full of the macrophage and the dendritic cell. Again, important phagocytes. It's full of also the T cell, of course, and the B cell, as already mentioned. And here is a significant feature. We see that the lymph node is surrounded by a tough capsule, so making it a distinctive structure. The lymph node anatomy you'll study as part of your lab work, and we'll see that it does have an entry vessel and an exit vessel, so that we're seeing there's a one direction of movement of that lymph. When we talk about a lymphoid nodule, the difference here is there's no capsule. So it's really just a collection of lymphocytes. Lymphocytes, remember, are referring to NK cells, T cells, and B cells. We'll see that the lymphoid nodules are going to be centered around the respiratory and the gastrointestinal or GI tract. And when you study your tonsils as part of your lab work, these are examples of lymphoid nodules. And what we'll see with our tonsils is that they do encourage the collection of pathogens, which is helping to sort of train the immune system cells that these are foreign invaders. And so we do see that the tonsils are really large and very active in childhood, and then declining in size and so forth as we get older. If the lymph node is the lymph filter, then the spleen can be considered the blood filter. And so we've already seen the role of the spleen in helping to remove old red blood cells. We'll find this spleen on the lateral border of the stomach. It's going to have lots of those macrophage and dendritic cells. We're going to see that it removes debris and old red blood cells from the blood. And of course, it also contains T cells and B cells. We see that for all of these. When we talk about the mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue, you're going to more often see this abbreviated as the MALT, M-A-L-T. This is almost like the star of the lymphatic system. This is just located in the mucous membrane epithelial tissues. Ooh, I had a big sneeze, so I hope that I managed to pause my recording in time. The MALT, the mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue, is this collection of lymph tissue that's found in the mucous membrane of epithelial tissues, and we'll see this in the gastrointestinal tract. So the whole thing. We'll see it in breast tissue. We'll see it in lungs. We'll see it in the eyes. So again, we're strategically locating these collections of lymphocytes in places that are entry or exit points, entry points for pathogens, any kind of opening in the body. You have kind of like a buddy to this called the BALT, B-A-L-T, and this stands for bronchus. So this would be in the respiratory tract associated lymphoid tissue. So together with the lymphocytes, lymphatic vessels, lymph, and this listing of lymphoid tissues and organs, these are the structures that make up the lymphatic system. So next, we're ready to start talking about how the system is functioning in the body. So stay tuned. As always, take care of yourselves and each other.